In the town council scene of the pageant, there's a line that speaks to our desire to think about things, and if it's not too serious, let it go and see how it'll turn out. The line, "We've got a whole year," is not just about the slow process of decision-making in town councils. It's about the inertia we all have when something isn't too bad.
We didn't get a blasted thing accomplished.
So what? We've got a whole year.
Whether it's the oil change or the weed pulling or the time to take out the garbage, procrastination is a national pastime. But the pageant is moving on. We've had several meetings and will continue to work towards some changes in the production. On September 27th, under Organizational Awareness, we looked at local and national trends and activities as they relate to the outdoor festivals, events, and dramas. On October 4th, we worked on board mission and finance and planning and began a mission statement and considered changes in board operation and funding options. October 11th, we worked on audience development and community partnerships with event planner Maddie Frank on crafting your event to draw the audience that you want to have. October 23rd, we worked on theatrical production with Ashley Hansen of Place-Based Productions about creating theater from the stories of the community to celebrate and build communities. At each of these meetings, participants began exploring the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to accomplishing the recommended actions, and also the forces that encourage or hold back the recommended actions. November 7th, we're analyzing these changes. January 10th, looking at adopting recommended changes, and on March 7th, looking back to measure some of the results to date. Let's review some of the national trends. There's been a drop in outdoor theater attendance by over 12% in 4 years' time. The audience's expectations are much higher than they used to be. I call it the Netflix syndrome. There's more spur-of-the-moment travel. They're more connected to social media. Customers want a complete and immersive experience. They also want to be able to make their own choices. Outdoor dramas that are successful are diversifying. Successful boards are shifting from the worker bees to the long-range planners. There's extensive use of social media as a precise marketing tool. Successful efforts constantly ask their customers what they want, what they need. Successful events also are seeing themselves in the business of economic development. There are also some local trends. 80% of our audience are first-time attendees. An overwhelming majority of our audience is from Minnesota. It appears that we appeal to young families, religious groups, and grandparents with grandkids. The Minnesota population is aging rapidly. We have more difficulty in getting volunteers, especially in the 20 to 40 age range. Financially, even a single rainout can cut our income by 10 to 15% in a year, while the expenses, of course, remain unaffected. And this year, we had a small crowd, but reducing the expenditures, we did not dip into the fund balance, which is often earmarked for capital outlay items. The audiences peaked in the 80s and have been on a slow decline since, and frankly, we're not seen as an economic asset to the community or the area at this time. Now, when we look at what people think about the pageant, the essence of our mission comes from the responses about the importance of the production. And they are A, entertainment, B, historical education, C, community common purpose, and D, tourism and economic development. If I was going to tweet that to you, it'd be Laura Ingalls Wilder History, Outdoor Drama, and Celebration gives hope and more to improve community and make some money. Now, the Wilder Pageant's looking at several changes in response to smaller audiences, changes in audience taste and expectations, national trends, and competing events. We have a great show with a strong and important message. We're working to adapt to continue to provide that message and the opportunities it provides for the communities in the area. 5 focus groups evaluated several suggestions. Here are 5 things being considered to improve our efforts.
We have been on that wagon for so long that I began to think of it as just another home.
Are we there yet?
The Board Mission Focus Group looked at hiring a part-time executive manager to coordinate advertising, hiring, grant efforts, and board recruitment. Hundreds of people have put in thousands of hours making this event a yearly success. An executive manager would allow the Wilder Pageant Board to do more planning and thinking about the future, leaving more of the daily details that require year-round effort to a manager who can concentrate time on the daily operation. A strong mix of media, business, writing, and people skills will be expected to make this position a valuable asset to the production. Other priorities listed included creating advisory committees for specific issues, recruiting diverse members for the board, establishing 3-year terms for the board members, and setting up rain insurance as a part of ticket purchase. The Funding and Planning Focus Group considered searching for added funds for artistic, cultural, and facility upgrades. Very few of the bigger historical dramas rely solely on ticket sales. A mix of sponsorships, grants, added events, concessions, and sophisticated segmentation marketing keep them alive and well in a time of shifting audiences and economic uncertainties. Other priorities included treating tourism as a business, hiring a person to write grants, submitting grant applications to SMAC, and developing a school curriculum about Laura Ingalls Wilder. The Audience Development Focus Group looked at increasing the presence on social media. This is the future, and it's been here for several years. I met with directors and managers of 30-plus other outdoor dramas across the U.S. a few weeks ago, and this was a huge priority. It can be more cost-effective and reach the specific target market you want to attract. It's not for the amateur, as the programming and algorithms used to find and encourage the market require constant attention and significant marketing skill. Many hire out this work to national firms. Other priorities listed included contacting tour operators with package deals, creating a weekly blog, creating online video ads, and adding usher training to assist and truly engage the audience. The Community Partnership Focus Group looked at hiring a person to coordinate between the various volunteer business and tourism groups. This ties in very closely with the job efforts of an executive manager. Many groups and businesses work hard to support the pageant with time and service, including parking, ushering, concessions, food preparation, and family festival events. There are things that we can do to make their time more enjoyable and increase economic benefit to the community through advertising, making them aware of funding opportunities, and providing tips for improved customer service. Some of the other priorities include working to increase the camping sites, hookups, and tent sites at Lake Laura, communicating more with the business and volunteer groups, working on larger events for families, and maybe a high school hospitality and theater class as part of the pageant during the summer. The Theatrical Production Focus Group. Number 1, improve the restrooms at the site. To keep customers, you have to make them feel welcome, and as all of you who travel know, nothing says welcome like an easy access, clean, and well-maintained restroom, especially if you're traveling with small children or grandmas and grandpas. We started with a large version of an outhouse in the beginning. We moved to upgrades in the 80s, and surprise, 40 years later we have facilities that need more than a touch of paint. New buildings need to be looked at from possible multiple use considerations to make them more cost effective. Rental's an option, but it's not always very appealing to young families. Other priorities, requiring all the crew to be in costume, adding 2 or 3 more events at the pageant site to make use of it, upgrading and terracing the seating, and improving that rodent control. Tonight, we'll break into groups to look in depth at these priorities using 3 steps. 1, a SWOT analysis, 2, force field analysis, and 3, an action plan. Now, some of the recommendations have already been through steps 1 and 2. Step 1, SWOT analysis. This simple form helps the focus group to consider the internal strengths and weaknesses of the organization as it attempts to develop a path to achieve the priority listed. It also requires the focus group to look at external opportunities that the path creates, as well as the threats that hinder the accomplishment of the priority. Step 2, force field analysis. This chart asks the focus group members to list forces that encourage and discourage the completion of the priority, and then to assign a number to the forces for and against. The totals for and against are used as a measure to help the group to decide if the priority can be accomplished. Step 3, action plan. I also call this the newspaper lead plus U, 5 W's, an H, and a U. Knowing all the information currently available, it's time to develop a plan that leads to the accomplishment of the recommended priority. Now, these are not polished documents, but rather works in progress that will need to be refined. What needs to be done to accomplish the priority? List 3 to 5 things. Be clear and concise. Put costumes on crew. That's unclear. A, list the number of crew and jobs during an average show. B, list the articles of clothing that will be assigned to each crew member. C, estimate the cost of costumes. D, write reasons the crew will need to wear costumes. That's more precise and more clear. Why this needs to be done is a recap of the opportunities from the SWOT analysis and the positive reasons from the force field analysis. When should this be accomplished? A, before next season starts. B, within a couple years. C, within 4 to 5 years. Who should be in charge of each step in the process? This may be a committee member or others. Will this be done as volunteers, or will financial reimbursement be involved? If so, how much? Where? Where will this be done? On-site, locally, off-site, brought in? And how? How? This involves presenting the information to the Wilder Pageant Committee for consideration and adoption. Going forward may require some added research, revisions, and cost reviews, as well as hunting for the right person to lead the effort. And then you, unanswered questions. What do we still need to know to be able to make a solid recommendation to accomplish this priority? Now, this is a quick but brain-draining process designed to collect the wisdom of this group to accomplish the mission of the pageant. I wonder what it'll be like in 100 years. The draft statement of the pageant states, in the spirit of Laura Ingalls Wilder, the Wilder Pageant Committee will sustain entertainment and economic development by the celebration of histories of the region through artistic displays and performances. We work to build up our community and solve concerns in creative ways through common experiences and participation in festivals, workshops, and arts centers events. Let's continue. Have a great show.